Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Full Potential Show. I'm James Rick, and this is your number one non-boring source for personal development. And today on the line, we certainly have somebody non-boring, Sebastian Terry, an adventurer who speaks, writes, and does. The book is called 100 Things, Inspirational Memoir Motivating People Like Yourselves to Consider and Achieve Their Dreams and Goals. The main website is 100things.com.au. Interesting, funny little tidbit. He is the world record holder for the most eggs crushed with toes in 30 seconds. This is a man who does things fast. Sebastian, there he is holding the certificate. Hey, it's great to have you on the show today, buddy.
Thanks for having me. It's a lovely day here in Sydney, Australia, or Canberra, Australia, and thanks for having me. Brilliant.
And he journeyed from the hotel room to the room he's in now, so we appreciate the extra effort to get us the best lighting possible today. So Sebastian, tell me first of all, I'm always intrigued by what is the inspiration behind the work that is the focus. What inspired you? I mean, did you do this your whole life, or did you finally one day say, I'm going to create a bucket list and I'm going to start doing these things?
No, I mean, essentially, I went to school. I finished school. I went then on to university just because that's what I thought, we had to do. So I ended up getting a degree in what's called human movement, which has since been called, it's changed to be named exercise science. So essentially I ended up with this degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do with it afterwards. I felt no calling at all. And I went traveling overseas.
What is exercise science, though? That's not something that necessarily they ask for when you're applying for a job. Now, wait a minute. You are very qualified, but do you have a degree in exercise science?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I don't know. I've got no idea what it means still. It took me 3.5 years to figure out I didn't want to do it, and I'm still in debt $17,000.
Okay, so it's an exercise in the wallet of paying every month for something. I gotcha, but it's more or less an exercise for them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's horrible. It's something to do with PE and physical training and physiology and God knows. I don't know. So I ended up with this degree anyway, and I went to the graduation, I got my degree, and it was just very unfulfilling. And I started asking questions, what do I want to do in my life? So I ended up traveling overseas. I ended up in Canada, of all places, at one point, and I was 24 at the time, and I got a phone call from a friend back home, and he told me some news that a mutual friend of ours called Chris had passed away overnight, quite tragically, at a party, and I couldn't get back for the funeral, and it sort of just left me in a I don't know, I just left pondering life, really, asking all those questions that you do when someone got to a moment, I guess, where I just thought, well, am I happy? If I was to die today, would I be happy? I think Chris probably was in a good place when he passed away, and he's quite lucky in that sense, but I definitely wasn't there. So I just got a pen and a piece of paper, and I started writing down everything that I'd always wanted to do, none of which I had done, and it just struck me, I guess it was a moment of clarity, I just said, well, this is what I want to do. If I do die tomorrow, I want to die in a good place, knowing I'm chasing my goals, and that was it. I just started chasing things, and I've ticked off 55 things so far from my list of 100. One of them being number 19, Guinness World Record, like you saw.
But you didn't know what it was going to be for, right? You just said world record holder.
Just wanted to. Absolutely. I actually got the latest copy of the Guinness Book of Records, and I just flipped cover to cover, and I made a short list of things that I thought I could beat. Number 1 was eating the most Ferrero Rochers in 1 minute, which was 8. I tried, and I only got 3. The second one was the most amount of spiders on the human body at one time. I think at the time it was about 164 or something like that, and I could only find 100 spiders. And then the third one I saw was the most amount of eggs crushed with the big toes in 30 seconds, which I admit is absolutely ridiculous. But I beat it by 1, and I am therefore a Guinness World Record holder.
Now, did you get all these abrasions on your feet from crushing that many eggs so fast?
I didn't. I tell you what, my toes are quite strong. I'm gifted with huge, big toes, so I was able to crush the toes with no damage to my skin.
Very, very good to hear about the toes. All right, so the important thing is here that you started to think differently about your life when you started to think about death being very relevant for you. I mean, generally, it's easy to push it off when we're young, right? It's like, it's out there somewhere. Yeah, I know it's there, but I'm not even going to think about it right now. I got this going on, I got that going on. But when you confront it when somebody near you dies, you start thinking about, what do I want to do in the context of death being on the doorstep tomorrow, possibly? And you create this list, and you've knocked off 55 things. You've got How many in this list then? It's the 100 things, right? Do you
there's just 100 things, absolutely.
I mean, do you keep building onto the list, or are you going to knock it off completely before you rebuild the list?
No, I guess now it's on paper, as in the book, which just got released. I have to keep it like it is. It's been going for 2.5 years so far, and there's a few things which have changed. Like, I've learned a lot about myself. So whereas at one point there was to drive a Ferrari down the Autobahn in Germany, which has no speed limits, that's no longer really a challenge, I don't see that as a hard thing to do. So I actually swapped that with stay awake for 72 hours, which I did do, and it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But no, it's set in stone now. I guess the interesting part is, yes, I've got to an amazing place in my life where I'm very, very content and I feel very fulfilled. But people are now sending me their lists, and in some way my own antics is inspiring other people around the world. I can't believe it, to pen down their ideas. So that's kind of the drive. So as much as my list is the same, the future of this is about trying to help other people, I guess, in some crazy way.
And nobody's ever sent you a list saying, I want to drive down the Autobahn in a Ferrari while not sleeping for 72 hours. You haven't gotten that list yet, right?
No, I definitely haven't. Is that on yours?
I don't think that's very safe. So you've got this list that you created for yourself. You've got this momentum, and now you're inspiring people all around the world to create their own list. And you go around and you speak about this, and it's on your website, 100things.com.au. And I understand that if people send you their list, you're going to help them get set up with a profile, or you've got some very clear directions on how to do this. Where can somebody go if they're inspired to start creating this list and following through? Where should they go?
My website's changed entirely just so people can now create their profiles. If they go to the website, on the right-hand side, there's a Become a Campaigner button. There's a guy parachuting. That's the icon. Anyway, if you click on there, you put your details in, you can essentially start your own... It's a blogging page, in a way, within my site. So daily now, there are people joining up. There are hundreds, maybe thousands. I don't keep tabs on it. But all these campaigners, is what I call them, they now, I guess, will help each other. So they're all interlinked and they talk to each other. And I guess in a way it's almost like a mini Facebook, but specifically for people with their own lists. So there are people on there with 1 thing, 10 things, 1,000 things. And a lot are in Australia, a lot are in America too. I spent a bit of time in San Diego, so there's lots of people from there. It's crazy. There's and the lists are so different. I mean, that's the beauty of a list, right? It's just relative to you. So whereas mine might be quite silly, like getting a Guinness World Record or marrying a stranger in Vegas or whatever it might be, someone else's might just be read more.
And do you see a lot of overlap? I mean, do you see some fairly universal things that people want to do that keeps coming up again and again?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think at the end of the day, I've got things that are on other people's lists, and likewise, a lot of girls, for some reason, just an interesting point, just on their list, one of the first ones is always travel more. It's not specific ever, it's just travel more. I think in Australia, the notion of, we're kind of, I guess it's a reflection of society, but you think you either work, you either study, or you go and travel. And people generally don't like working or studying, so they say, I just want to travel. So that becomes their list. But I guess at that stage, it's a matter of breaking it down. Sure, you want to travel more, but where do you want to travel?
Yeah, it needs a little more specifics than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it can be, of course, it can just be that, but yeah, I think it needs to, you really have to think about this, because let's just say someone gave you a wish and they said you can do whatever you want in the world. You wouldn't say travel more, you'd say, I want to travel to the Taj Mahal, or I want to travel to, it has to be specific, I suppose.
So this is also an exercise in clarity then, which is invaluable. I mean, very important. Once you start thinking, what do I actually want to do with this life that I have? Now you have to actually get clear with it. You can't just hope that good things are going to show up. And I think that kind of exercise is invaluable. Where do you hope people go next with this? I mean, anybody who's watching and seeing this interview right now, getting a little inspired, maybe thinking, gosh, I'd really like to get clear on what I want to do in this lifetime. It's so short. Any of us that have lived in it long enough know that it goes by so fast. What are some of the next things? I mean, it's pretty obvious. You want them to create a list if they don't already have one.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. I think it gives direction. A lot of people, and I'll talk about Australia specifically, but over here it's very much you go to school to acquire enough knowledge to go to university. Again, you get a degree with which you get a job, and then you can accumulate money to buy a house, a car, afford a family, and then eventually retire at, say, 65. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, of course, if that's important to you, but a lot of people just following that blueprint, which has been encouraged the whole time from school through university through society, don't often, or I guess they they put financial security above their own fulfillment, and in that sense they forget about themselves and their primal needs, I guess. So that's what I'm trying to do. To say to people, it's fine. You're allowed to think about yourself. It's not selfish. It's really important, in fact. So, if anything, it's that, having a moment of clarity, like you said. You always hear of someone who gets diagnosed with an illness or survives a car crash, and when death is on their doorstep and for the first time their life's in jeopardy, it's then they think about how wonderful life could be, and they think about themselves. So it's why wait for such a horrible moment like that? You just take tonight, if you're lying in bed, if you're driving your car, just start thinking about what's on your list. And it's as simple as that. It's the easiest step of achieving a goal, just goal setting, but it's often the one that's overlooked by people.
Well said, my friend. The website is 100things.com.au. It's an exercise in clarity. Now, do you suggest they also rank some of these things and get clear on the priority, or just generally get the list down?
I didn't have any priority. It's just a list, and my journey's unfolded in a way that I have no control of now. So whereas, I just came back from a trip to Africa, I lived with a tribe, the Maasai warriors, on top of a volcano, simply because a guy suggested I should do it. So I just roll with the punches and see whatever happens, right? So, but certainly priorities is a great thing. If someone knows that there's something that's very, very important to them and that might allow them to do other things, that should be first, absolutely.
And it very well could be living on top of a volcano. And if it is, just the place to be. So, Sebastian, if anybody wants to take the next step and get started, they should go to your website and just create a list. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely it. It's go to the website, click on the Become a Campaigner button, and just put your name down, and then just start thinking of all the things you'd ever wanted to do. The simple question is this: if you were going to die tomorrow, what would you change about today? And I think once it's a very sort of confronting question, because not many people think about it, but once you do allow yourself the time to actually think about it and you start writing, I think you'll find it quite addictive, and you'll end up with a list probably far more than my just 100. But it's as simple as that, and if you join up, you're able to communicate with all the other people, and it's an amazing little experience just being able to connect with the good side of people.
It's a great exercise. Nothing can be more valuable than clarity, because without clarity, everything else you're doing is just wasting time. The website is 100things.com.au, and touching on what Sebastian has said, when you start thinking about life in the context of death, it's like Buddha said, death is our greatest teacher, and it's taught Sebastian to live an amazing life, and he continues to inspire others to do the same. We appreciate having you on the show, buddy. Thank you.
Mate, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care and keep doing what you're doing, man. Living life.
See you soon.
Hey, and you better watch out. I may get good at crushing eggs, and then you may have a challenger.
Mate, I tell you, if you don't beat me by 10, I'd be very surprised. Have a look at the video on the website. The guy keeps dropping all the eggs. Ridiculous.
All right, buddy. Take care, man.
See you.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of The Full Potential Show, your #1 non-boring source for personal development. I'm James Rick, and if you want to get more positive programming for your brain absolutely free on a weekly basis, just visit fullpotential.com.
If you like The Full Potential Show, you're going to love the Full Potential Club. What would you like most as a Full Potential Club member? Be 2 to 3 times more productive? Do what you're passionate about? Have more energy? Reduce your work hours? Travel the world? Enjoy an amazing lifestyle on a frugal budget? What if you could do them all? James Rick has been there and done it in ways that few people have. For anyone serious about taking their life or business to the next level, you've got to do more than just watch. You've got to do. Join James Rick and other like-minded people for an incredible $10 a month at fullpotential.com/club. Be educated. Be empowered. Be the best version of you. fullpotential.com/club. Try it free for 30 days.